everybody, and welcome to Ade, number 4 on the Coffee Diaries.
Number
Ade,
4.
how are you today?
Um, doing pretty good. Yeah, it's a rainy day here in New York. I'm really excited for the show and for our special guest that's going to be joining us today as well. How are you doing today?
I'm still learning. You know, it's been an interesting week. We've had some great conversations, looking at things, looking at titles for shows, sharing music, sharing links, which has been really good. And we've had loads of ideas.
Yeah. That's what I enjoy. Like I'm really enjoying the journey and the preparation for these podcasts. I never knew that, like, preparing for something, I always looked at things as work, and you have to just really grind and put all this strenuous effort. But this has been joyful. It's been exciting. I've learned so much in our conversations and in preparing for these podcasts. The podcast just seems like a kind of just like icing on the cake that we just do.
Yeah, but I guess it's what we said at the beginning, wasn't it? I mean, it's what we do in our lives. So the show is us learning about things, finding out things, reading, studying, and what we're interested in. So I guess if we keep that, then there's going to be a joy in doing the shows. We're sharing music, we're sharing movies, we're sharing books. And this week you went on a trip to the museum.
Yes. Yeah. That was a treat. You know, I usually don't do things like that. Just go and do something, just nice for myself. It was out of the ordinary, and there was the artwork was. I particularly enjoyed the paintings. You know, that was. It was so many beautiful paintings and such history, and just being around the art and the history, the tools, the different objects that it was a Native American museum in Manhattan, and just being there, just noticing what I noticed was and this is like the technical, I guess, artist creative side of me, is the precision, the detail in some of the artwork, in some of the okay, wait, I'm going to cut my story short because we have Harim that is joining us. This is our special guest, and Harim is going to play us the djembe drums, because today's topic is about communication. So we thought this would be a nice addition. Harim, can you tell our audience, tell us where you're from?
Yeah. Yes. My name is Harim Sen. I from West Africa in Senegal.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm griot. Yeah.
All right, great. So what drum are you playing first?
Yes. See, I'm playing the small drum. This is djembe, the little one.
Okay.
Yeah, djembe is the drum of West Africa. Djembe. Yeah.
Okay, so whenever you're ready.
Okay. Muy bien. I will play like the first rhythm is the mother of all rhythm. It's named Kuku.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, one question for you before you go, Harim. When
Yeah,
you're playing with other djembe players,
yes,
do you
yeah,
feel like you're communicating, like you're talking to each other?
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Sometimes you see two people, they look each other and they smile,
Mhm.
like they smile happy, like in that moment we are talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are talking. I am calling him and he respond me, or he are calling me, I respond him. We
Ah.
was communicate, and people who are seeing, they know they are communication, but we all the time communicate when we play.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So it sounds like there's a talking
mm,
and listening through the instruments.
yes, yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Hadim,
Mm.
thank you for joining us at the end of
Oh,
the
thank
show.
you.
We'll let
Yes, yes,
people know where to find you. If you could text me that information, or if you could
okay.
say it right now, where can people find you? Because you do offer djembe lessons.
See. I give djembe lesson, and we will start on December. Every Saturday to 5:30. See,
Okay.
and Broadway and then McDonald, I Canal Church Risk Association. Canal
Okay.
and Church Risk Association. There are people I work with. Yeah,
Canal
yeah, man.
Research Association.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's in Manhattan, New York, and I'll post that the links to that and let people know to look for you specifically.
Oh,
Okay.
man.
All right.
Oh,
Th-
so much.
Thank you, brother.
thank you.
Okay, thank you, Maestro.
Thank you,
Sorry.
brother.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Sorry.
Oh,
Thank
Thank you.
thank
you.
you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Bye.
Okay.
Yeah. So, do you remember when I sent you that track from Babatunde Olatunji?
Yeah.
I think it's Cosmic Vibrations, and I think it's such an incredible track. And then I sent to you, and you created this video of you dancing.
Hmm.
And then we've been talking about, bringing in people into the show, and I just thought that with that phrase, the drums are talking and communication, we could go really deep into that and
Yeah.
really learn about it. And because I think there's so much to go into.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because I was listening, there's a quote by, I think it's Francis Bay,
Hmm.
and he says, he's a musician, he said, the drum expresses our inner feelings.
Mm.
And
The drum.
yeah, the drum expresses our inner feelings. And as today's topic is on communication, I thought it was just a perfect idea to bring someone on to play the drums. And luckily you found somebody. And also, I think it reminded you of drumming that you used to do or groups that you used to be in.
Yes. Yeah. I used to be go to a African healing center in Mount Vernon, New York, and so there were djembe players and dancers. There was my good friend Mama Saul was is the teacher. I'm not sure if she's still teaching there, and so she would teach, and then the djembe players would drum, and the dancers would dance. And when we would get into, I don't know, I guess in basketball terms, they call it the zone. But it's like you get to this place where, I would play and you just feel this spirit in the room. And there's not any thinking. It's like the pulse of it. There's a pulse, there's a heartbeat, there's a communication. And it's really good when you're doing it with the African dance. They really go together because you see this communication that is expressed through the sound and through the visual representation of the dance, which is really beautiful. So yeah, I've had the experience with doing the dance as well. I don't want to mess up his name. Can you repeat the name?
Babatunde Olatunji.
Babatunde Olatunji.
Olatunji, yes.
Olatunji. Yeah, so I was listening to him. You have to listen with your headphones if you want to get the real um have the real experience. You have to have it coming through and isolate it in that way. And so I was on one end of the living room and my kids were like watching TV or something and I was dancing. It was okay, here is Harim. So yeah, and I got into this zone and I felt like I was connecting with my ancestors.
That is, I think, the part of one of the reasons we started this show, to connect with people like Hadim, to learn a bit more about, the music, the art, and the creativity.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing, I think that's why we're here and we're learning at the same time.
Yeah.
And I like what you said there in regards to the call and the response, because I read this from Babatunde Olatunji. And he said that the drums are to send a message from one village to another, and that the drum can heal wounds, an instrument to bring people of all levels together. And as the drum is made from the tree and skin, it's part of nature.
Yeah.
And and depending on which part of the hand they use, it creates a different sound.
Yeah.
And the sounds can mimic all different birds and animals.
Yeah. I didn't know that about mimicking the different birds and animals. That's great.
So, I'm going to go deeper into this and learn more. So I think we talked about doing a whole show called The Drums Are Talking. So maybe then a bit more reading and learning about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so I do appreciate the fact that that especially the djembe drum in particular is made out of the tree and the skin and 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 I suppose there's a level of reverence that they hold for I won't even call them materials, but for the tree and for the skin that's being used. I mean, that's one of the things that I noticed at the Native American Museum, that it, it's the material that they use from animals. Just it made me think that I suspect, I don't know for sure, but they didn't waste things. They really respected and honored the animals and the different parts of natures, the trees, the wood, all of these things, and they made the most out of it. Yeah. So that's when you talked about the drum, that came up for me.
Yeah, and learning about it and our connection with what I just learned to call recently the global majority, which is most of the people in this world. The indigenous communities, African, Asian, learning about these cultures. I think that feeds into what we're talking about in regards to communication. If we're able to learn about it, communicate, I think it feeds us as human beings, and we're going to learn so much more.
Yeah. And listening is part of that communication.
I looked into, so this week when I knew we were talking about communication, I thought, okay then, what is miscommunication? And I went into the root of the word and to miss, and it was spelt M-I-T as well as M-I-S, and miss is to send. So miscommunication is like to send away. So I thought as well, okay, and so what is miscommunication? And through that, we can get to communication, go from the negative. So if we see what miscommunication is, it may be, so not listening, talking over one another, having a pre-idea of what the person's going to say.
Yeah.
And judgments. Because communication contains the word commune, which is together.
Mm-hmm.
I think how often that when we speak to each other, sometimes it's not communication. It's rather called we're talking to each other, not communicating with. And that can be challenging, probably even more so in your closest relationships as well.
Yeah. And challenging is an important thing for us. We tend to oftentimes in our culture avoid things that are challenging because they're scary. They may bring up some discomfort. They may test our preconceived ideas, as you were alluding to, and it may challenge the idea of who we think we are. If our beliefs and ideas are so attached to our identity and who I am, then I could feel, threatened. And if anyone who's had relationships have had some experience with this, as I have, I'm sure you have as well. So you brought up recently to me in a conversation. You said, "A day, where's the warrior?" And we got to find the warrior. And yeah, so that's part of that warrior within us that I think is not about, as you had said, about fighting or just killing someone, or this sort of warrior that you see in our movies and things of that nature. But a warrior is being able to listen to someone else, go into conflict, but in a constructive way, with the idea of I'm going into this conflict not to win, but to be open and to see what I can. Maybe there's something that I can learn from this conflict. And so to be able to put aside what I think I know, my old ideas, my beliefs, can be a very scary proposition, but it is essential to be able to relate to another perspective, another human being, with their experience that has its unique and authentic um, expression, value, importance, and I think we each have a part in weaving this reality, and I think that should be honored, or that could be honored within myself and within another person. And part of that is respecting the other and honoring the other person's sovereignty. And like what I talked about in the other podcast, my experience with the tree, listening to those ideas of what I think a tree is. And a friend had told me, no, just listen. And if the tree wants to present what the tree is, if you're lucky enough, the tree will do that, through grace. So yeah.
That's kind of letting go to have it. You have to let it go first, your ideas of what you think the tree or another person, to really communicate with them.
Yeah.
Letting go of any preconceived ideas. And because how often do we, so it seems like in many cases, someone comes to you and you have an image of that person, and then they have an image of you. And oftentimes these two images really speaking. So there's not real communication. In fact, the two people could just walk off and let the images have a conversation. And
that happens.
Yeah. And so we have this, so there's no real kind of togetherness. It's just these two ideas of what we want to present. And false ideas and concepts. And I think to really communicate is to see that in ourselves, that we do oftentimes create an image with other people. So like, I remember just my grandmother, I knew her as Gran, the idea I had of Gran, but I didn't know Mary. I had an idea of her. And it could be your friend who you've known for a long time, so you built up an idea of who they are, which means oftentimes we never come to each other fresh. We put baggage onto them and they put baggage onto us. And then can we, if we do that, can we really truly meet?
It's a good question.
And a lot of times that's the cause of, racism and sexism, because before you've even met the person, you've built up an idea of who they are based on extrinsic, the color of their skin, their religion, how they're dressed. So we don't give ourselves the opportunity to meet.
Yeah.
And for that to happen, I guess we have to look at the preconception ideas and training that we've had in our whole lifetime to create this image, which requires a great deal of sensitivity. And how often is it when we're speaking with somebody and we already have an idea of our response before they finish speaking?
Yeah.
So are we really listening?
And it's also within ourselves as well. We expect something to to come up. We expect the same sort of expectations we put on other people, I think, begin within ourselves. And so they're not really based in the moment. So I think to a certain extent, listening first begins within ourselves, as you kind of talked about, listening, having that sensitivity and insight into how we became to be the way that we are, and I think some of the things that for me helps with that is having a certain amount of gentleness and compassion and sort of looking with non-judgmental eyes. And even, dare I say, having some appreciation, like the wabi-sabi, appreciating those, what we call imperfections, or the kind of, I don't want to call it mess, but the certain uniqueness that make up this identity, or this character, this Ade that has certain ways to feel safe, has certain armor, certain strategies to make it through a an experience with another person. And part of that is, and I think this is part of the ego and the brain, is the brain doesn't like to not know what something is. Its whole design is to avoid danger and to know. So when Ron comes up, the ego's like, okay, no, like this is, you know, to feel safe. But does it really know? As you said, we don't really know, and in fact, my experience with you has been always changing. There's always this mystery. Uh, as
Why is
well
that?
as, was that?
Why is that?
Hmm. Hmm. That is because in this moment there is just this, this like feeling sense of what is present right now. I don't know what you're gonna say, I don't know what's gonna come up. Um, yeah. So it's it's always changing. It's always changing.
I guess the good fortune that we have, I guess what we've learned is that we've allowed ourselves to go in any direction.
Yeah.
So the phrase that we use is, we're going to play some jazz and let's see where we go.
Mm.
And I guess if you come from that, there's a safety in that. There's no judgments, there's no right or wrongs involved. Let's just go there. If something comes up, we can chat about it.
Mm.
If you want to try this, let's try it. I don't know. And I guess if we're talking communication, trust, having that trust to be able to talk, to be in commune.
Yeah. The trust is important, and then it's also coming up that also honoring your sovereignty. So I think part of it is not seeking myself in you. So not seeking my sense of self from another person. you know um, because then there is then I'm not experiencing you, what's going to come out of you at any moment. And I could, like, being able to just realizing that takes a lot of pressure off, because then it's like honoring my way. It doesn't have to be your way. I have my particular voice, you have your particular voice. um you have your experiences, I have my experiences. like I had an experience with my dad, and my dad is a professor, you know, so he's an intellectual, very articulate, very, he just writes and reads all day. And then I did yeah, like a video um with him and my sister, who's a Harvard graduate, and you know, very intellectual as well. So like I realized I was trying to sound very articulate and intellectual. I put that costume on, but I couldn't keep up. Like my dad was like, as I was being more trying to be more intellectual, it seemed by magic the books on his desk would just stack up and stack up, and he was just quoting more and more of, you know, these people or that people. And I have a way of talking that I take a lot of pauses, and a lot of like you know, I'm a performer. I'm sort of, you know, I'm noticing now that I've tried to be that way, the articulate, kind of intellectual type,
Mm.
but I'm just not. I'm just like, you know, and yeah. So I noticed that, and when I noticed that, and then there was a little bit of realization that, oh, I don't have to be that. I could breathe. That's part of communicating. Like, yeah, breathing is communicating, making noise. Like while we were talking, I just went, and my family didn't say, oh, what the hell is wrong with Ade? He's making all these noises now, and he's very strange. They didn't stop to say that. They might have thought it, but they didn't say it. But then I realized that communicating could be in all these different ways. Yeah, I would never say to a geese, what the hell are you doing? Screeching like a friggin' maniac. The whole woods can hear you screech. What's the matter with you? And, you know, if the geese was like screeching, what's the matter with you? In an Italian accent, you know, that would be a different story, you know. But yeah, so I think joy, finding, you know, communicating for me is finding what's joyful to you, what's authentic to you. But once I realized that, then I saw my dad in a different way. He wasn't as threatening. And he actually, I was able to say to him, you know, Dad, I have a very very sensitive nervous system, you know. And he just said, me too. So, yeah, like duh, you know, that's where stuff is passed down.
I guess as well what you said there, and your dad's intellectual and your sister's intellectual. So is that then we create an image of what an intellectual should sound like? Can we let all of that dissolve? Because intellectual may come in so many different guises, numerous, hundreds, thousands of different ways.
Yeah.
And your way, making sounds, making noises, whatever it is, singing and dancing, that's intellectual expressed through Ade.
Yeah.
Your dad's way is going to be your dad's way. And if we come to that, then you're being your authentic self.
Mm.
He or whoever you're speaking to, I think, is then allowed to be their authentic self. Because you've kind of laid down your barrier and you're, I think what you said before, thrown off the armor.
Yeah.
You've thrown off the armor and you said, here I am. And doing that is an example or is an openness to anybody in communication with you to also throw off the armor.
Yeah.
And we can meet behind the names. We can meet beyond the job title. We can meet beyond the idea of looking good and sounding correct. To what's real. Because all of that, I guess, are just concepts and ideas, aren't they?
Yeah.
This is this. This is that. We've made them up.
Mm-hmm.
What about if we allow all of those to fall? Every single one of them. And not by a doing, oh, I'm going to let it fall. I guess that's another kind of ego identity. No, just to, okay, here it is. I'm pleased to meet you, whoever you are, right here, right now. I always had this idea that, you know, if you're going to meet for someone on the very first date, you should meet and you should see them in the way you got out of bed that morning. So no shower, no changing, and you just meet you, and they meet you just as if they got out of bed. So there's none of this, you know, stuff you got to put on, none of this, you know, great clothes. This is who I am at my messiest.
Yeah.
And I think that will get through a lot of stuff straight away, because I guess I think Chris Rock said it, that when you meet someone for the first time, you're not meeting them, you're meeting their representative.
Yes. Yeah. It's true. You know, but you know, at the same time, it seems like if it's not planned, then, you know, if it's planned, then it may become another strategy. You know, so you know, what is the intention? Yeah, but yeah, if we can show ourselves in some way of who we are normally, if we know, like if we're open to ourselves. I still never know how much I'm hiding, you know, like what's that, what is strategy, what's not strategy, you know. You know, but I think there's also a playfulness to it. You know, there's something about that with my kids. They will pretend to be something, but there's a playfulness. You know, they don't take it so seriously, and you know, my kids will listen. They will listen to me. You know, I'll tell them something, unless it's something you got to do. Like, but if I'm just sharing something, like you know, you got to do this chore, then they'll kind of shut off if they're. But for the most part, you know, they will listen very intently. I noticed that they will listen. You know, told my son the other day, because I was kind of just being very, just like snapping a little bit, you know, just this. So I shared with him, I'm frustrated today. I feel a little stressed. So anything I'm doing is not because of you. And he came over to me. He said, Dad, are you feeling stressed today? You know, you feeling frustrated? And I said, yeah. He said, okay, use your problem solving skills. I said, okay. He just walked off. but he listened, because he came to me like after, you know, I didn't think he listened, but they will listen. There's a playfulness, you know, about things. And I think intention is important. What am I expecting? What is it that I want to bring into this relationship or into, I don't know. Seems like those are worthwhile questions. What am I? Am I here to learn? Am I truly here to learn about the other person, or am I really here to get a pat on the back or get approval or get something? You know?
If we come with, I'm here to learn, we're always open. We're always open
Yeah.
to hearing from another. And I like what you said there when you said to your son, talk to your son, and he was listening to you. One of the great gifts that you have when you do story time with children, because I work in a nursery, is do story time, is you get this gift that you think you're giving, but you're actually receiving the gift. So you're telling a story, and if you've been with nursery children or these stories, look at their faces. They're like this.
Yeah.
And they're like this. So in that moment, they are creating this world from your story. So it could be dragons and lions, and they are seeing it. You go, oh, look, it's a dragon, and they see it.
Yeah.
They're creating it as you speak. Now, I always thought it was you telling the story that was the great thing. It's not, as I found out. You're saying it with words, and they give you the pictures.
Yeah.
Because they're listening and they're there with you. Wherever you want to take the story, and you're in commune. You're together on this roller coaster. So there's now the difference between the storyteller and the listener kind of collapses, and you're creating this thing. And that's the gift I think you get from telling stories to children and having this playfulness.
Yeah.
This open playfulness.
Mm.
And if we can keep this playfulness in how it goes, so in the beginning with Hadim, and things may happen, and it doesn't matter. We have this playfulness, we have this, where we're going, we don't know what's going to go on next. We're playing jazz, we're doing the instruments. Yeah. What's going to happen? If we keep that. But sometimes the weight of adulthood with concepts and ideas about who I think I am, the images create, it's got to be this way or that way. A lot of time that gets in the way. And I think as well, in regards to community, being in commune, we live in a society, in a world where there's so much falsity. Advertising and marketing, pushing you, saying, oh, this is the greatest coffee in the world, or this is this, or I am this and I am that. And there's so much false going on that sometimes I think we just take it on board, and we watch it and we begin to use it ourselves.
Yeah. That's a good point. I find that that's where some of the, at least for me, difficulty comes up, is our culture is so indoctrinated in this way of, it seems, this way of being, that the value is status, power, choosing sides. This side is right. that side is wrong, and so that means that they're horrible. The punish reward system. Um, you have to sound a certain way and be a certain way, you know, and that gets absorbed into the fabric of the culture in which we are a part of, and in some ways dependent on for our security. You know, because we need the job, we need this, we need that, and so I think we take on these values that might not be in alignment with what our gut tells us is true, and then in many cases we ignore that intuition which is trying to communicate to us. We ignore we repress our authentic expression, so therefore we're not communicating really. And I find that to be a difficult, and again the word warrior comes out, you know once we've taken that on, and it happens, I guess, gradually throughout the years. And I think a lot of times our parents kind of push it onto their kids, not knowingly, but because you want your kid to assimilate and to be safe and things of that nature. So um but then we have to sort of unravel some of that stuff. So what I find for me is how to bring that out into the world and communicate where I'm really listening to the other person, or wanting. My intention is to listen, to get to know you, but I'm still coming from this place of protection and of being this way, that this kind of cookie cutter like image of something else that I think is appropriate, you know? And it's not that, and it's not even that the other person is asking me necessarily to be that way. Um, but by habit, so it's easy to fall into that sort of thing. And then I'm wondering who initiates it. So if one person initiates the identity, the other person may come back with the identity. Like I think you talked about that idea of what mask are you wearing? What mask do you want me to put on? And then each person puts on a mask. I wonder if the same thing is true if we come without the mask, and how to approach that.
I think we just got to come with our authentic self.
Yeah.
And I think that has to resonate, because not the concept, idea, we are all one, not, oh yes, let's have a dance and around the fairy bush. No, just in actuality, yes. Not breathe deeply and let me approach you with a nice, deep, airy voice and hello, how are you? No, in actuality, yes, to when you come with that. And also, I think something else that we can use, which is, I think, can take us there, is it's bigger than us.
Yeah.
This show, what we're doing, is bigger than us. We can allow our wants and not wants and, oh, am I looking good or whatever, to get in the way. But if we come with, it's bigger than us. And let's look at what we've gone through in the last week. Our interest in First Nations of United States. You went to the mirror. You went to the museum. You told me you had a First Nations ancestor. We talked about our ancestors. We discovered some new music. Hadid came on the show. You've also spoken to other people. This morning I spoke to someone about buying a djembe drum. The books we're reading, it's bigger than us. I think if we come from that, that's a way in. And to take it into, every conversation. And you know what, as well, Ade, I think this is how we really are. I don't think we have to try. You saw with your children, they're not trying to be the authentic self when they were in the pram. They weren't going, I'm in the pram now, I wonder what my authentic self is. Yeah? So if they were born this way, then it's our natural state.
Yeah.
It's who we really are. So we don't have to try. We just have to let go. Are we willing to fly into the black hole of I don't know?
Yes, that's the question.
And the answer is there. The answer is, isn't that the reason why we're here?
Oh, you just hit it on. You really hit it on the nail, because are we willing to? When I'm at the playground with my kids, sometimes we'll play make believe, and I would get into it, and I would say, okay, we're going to another planet, and we have to take a spaceship, and so we go into the park and we go sit somewhere, and we sit. They would go along with it. We'd sit in the chair and do the dials, and I'd have one of them fly. We'd do the countdown, and all of this time we're going into the black hole of I don't know. There's no knowing as we're going, but we do get to the planet, and then we create, some alien or something, and we have, and we're laughing, and we're creating, and we're having fun, and we're playing. And so that space of uncertainty, that black hole of I don't know, we can go into it with a playfulness. Imagine. We can create. We can create. And I love that. You sent me that podcast recently of I think it's Afrofuturism. That's one of the, in the spirit of creating something new. Afrofuturism is not. It was on a sci-fi podcast. They're not trying to create another sort of European version of science fiction. They're trying to. It's about creating something new. So something just fresh, something that's out of the, so that's really, and one has to go to that space of I don't know. And that's how I think where everything starts. We always talk about the light, bring more light, the light. But what about the dark? What about that space, the unborn, the created?
I read something this week which said exactly that. We've been taught, accustomed, grown used to it being the light. And sometimes, especially in this world, it's mean the white Eurocentric way of doing things. But The soil, it grows in the dark.
Yeah.
Space is the dark, the black hole going into the I don't know. The dark was originally the mystery and the magic. The dark was where we created spells, as in spelling, creating with our words and our thoughts.
Yeah.
The dark is where we're undressed, we're there, where was it? What do they call it? The power of vulnerability, of stepping into that place.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going to happen next. And if we come with that, then we allow others to come into that space with that. Then we're learning. So we learned about Hadim today. We're going to learn about First Nations community. We're going to learn about people from different parts of the world. We're going to learn about us. And all the time we're learning about ourselves as well. All the time.
Yeah.
Always going to come up. Can we follow what's in our intuition, our inner teaching? Without the fear of, I don't know, I've got to say the right thing. Let me say a few words which have 4 syllables in them to make me sound really smart. Whatever it is. Whatever it is. Can we allow the mask to fall? Because you know what? I have friends as well. And when they go to job interviews, they sound nothing like they sound when they're speaking to me. Nothing like they put on that voice, you know. Yeah. And we do this so often. So sometimes we do it going to the shops. We do it going to the children's school. You do it going to your job.
Yeah.
You do it going to a particular job interview. You do it going to this. It's like mask off, mask, mask, mask. And we do it to get along in this world, how the world is constructed.
Yeah.
What about, Ade, if we say how the world is being constructed does not work? And we don't need to go out there and see, we can see for ourselves. The system does not work. Okay, let's try a new way. I'm going to express myself and be myself. And that's the reason why I'm here. To dress how I would like to dress, to be how I'd like to be. Not to oppress someone else with my ideas, but an openness that my freedom is freedom for you as well.
And what comes to mind is, do we even bother to ask ourselves, what are we communicating? When we put on those costumes, like, what are we really, what are we communicating?
Are we communicating fear? Fear of not fitting in.
Yes.
Like me, please.
Yes.
Love me, please. Respect me, please.
And what does that breed? What does fear just breeds more fear? You ever seen the Mel Gibson movie Apocalypto?
I watched it 2 weeks ago.
Okay. So I think you know the scene where where they're in, I think it was in the beginning, where there was another tribe and you can see the fear on the other tribe. And I think the main tribe in the story and the main character, I think he wanted to go towards them to talk to them or communicate with them. And I think it was the father, or I'll just say an elder, said that they're afraid or they're in fear and it's contagious. And where did that fear come from?
That fear. And you know what, as well, we do know that these feelings and ideas, our emotions are contagious, because you can walk into a room with somebody and you know immediately what's going on. You can feel it.
Yeah.
A child may walk into a room where parents have been arguing. He may not have heard the argument, but he knows.
Yeah.
We know.
Yeah.
We know. We can see our friend and we go, "Ah, how you doing? You all right?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm good." You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know. Because we're communicating not via our faces now, which we can put masks on. We're communicating via our heart intuition.
And yeah, the communicating the fear is, I think we might as well just tell the other, I might as well just go out and say, "Hey, I'm gonna communicate some fear to you right now. This is me trying to protect myself. If you, I'm feeling very scared, so I'm just saying these words so that you will know that it's safe and that I will feel safe. I'm not a threat because I'm saying the appropriate things. Maybe I will talk about some current event or say something that I know a group of people identify with and agree with and believe in, so that you can say, oh yeah, we can do that whole thing. So this is fear here. So I want to, let's keep this thing going, while I know inside, it's not really helping, and I know it's exhausting, because I know that inside you're probably feeling contracted and your energy is feeling drained. But what is the other choice? What else? What else? What else? I think just knowing that, just being conscious of what we're doing and what we are. You sent me a message to a Facebook post of mine where you talked about how scientists measured meditators that meditated on the heart, that the heart energy, I forget how many photons of something good just kind of expands. It expands when you focus on the heart energy, rather than someone else who's not doing that. And I thought, yeah, that does go out to other people, so we are transmitting something, sometimes I'll just go, when I'm at the supermarket and the person says, "Well, how's your," because they have to say it. I think at the supermarket I go to, they make them say, "How are you doing?" And most times people go, I'm good. Oh, I'm grand. I'm great. Everything's okay." But I just take a moment and check in, and I'll just say, doing okay. It's a little stressful day. And I could see them exhale. Like they will go, "Ah, I see it." And I'll say to them, on a rare occasion, I would initiate it and I'll say, "How are you doing?" And on a rare occasion, the person will say, uh, you know, they'll just say that, just being so honest. And I'll say, "Oh, yeah, what's going on? How are things?" And they may say it. Or one person, I got into a conversation, school stuff. They're a little bit stressed about that, but you get this exhale of letting the guard down, and there's something to that I think is beneficial. for everyone.
But this guard is so heavy.
Yeah.
Years and years and years and years. And we get the first guard in school because we want to look cool and tough or whatever. Then you go to college, university, it's a weight that we're carrying, having to act this way or act this way. So I can understand the person at the store just, finally, I don't have to go through all of that all the time. Oh my God.
Yeah, one more person.
Smile. Do I have to say it? And it's so disingenuous. I mean, they might say to you, how are you doing? Have a nice day. But, just they did it on a training course, So it doesn't feel kind of, because the other day I was walking down the high road and this lady comes towards me. She's like, trying to sell a charity. So you could sign up for £3.
Yeah.
And she comes towards me, beaming. Oh, how are you today? Oh, how are things? Oh, you look really wonderful today. And there's something inside which says it's so insincere. I know that you want something.
You can stop. You can stop.
Yeah.
Don't worry. Just tell me what you want.
Yeah. And you know what? It's just, and then I go past. I didn't sign up. And the next person that goes past, she goes through exactly the same routine with the beaming smile and yes and how, So she's doing this, and it's just, is the word inauthentic.
Yeah.
It just feels that way. But do you know what you did, though? On the very first show, when I asked you how you were, you said, I'm feeling a bit nervous.
Yeah.
And I think that lays it open for us. Now we can go anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, those 2 words or 3 words may not have, I think they were a massive, important part of us starting this. Because it was honest, it came, I'm feeling a bit nervous. If we start from there, then we can go off anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And why not? That's part of the, why leave that to, before the show, Ron, I'm feeling very nervous. And then the show, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. So calm and
relaxed, breathing deeply in the.
And since I was able to say that, one of the things that I found out about nervousness is it may also be I'm excited, I'm excited, because there's something about being able to reframe things. There's a power in that. So one way to reframe it, and I can get there by talking about it and by saying I'm nervous, but a way to reframe it is I'm excited about the infinite possibilities, like what's going to be born out of this excitement and not knowing what's going to come, and that so I'm here with that right now and looking forward to this conversation. And also, you talked about the black hole of I don't know, and that just keeps this has been running around in my head for a while, because and when we talked about how we focus a lot on the light and not the dark. So this place, black holes in general, people associate it with fear, with something dreadful. You're being sucked out. You're being sucked up and then you're gone. There's nothing left. Maybe part of that is these constraints that we put on ourselves, these concepts, all of this burden is sucked away, and that's not left. But yet we are still here on the other side of that event horizon. You know, we are still here, as you say. You know, that there is something else here, and then on another level, um, we associate from our culture, from blackness with being bad or negative. So there's that too. So when there is this feeling within the self that there is this black hole of I don't know, there's this space of this contracted feeling, this thing that I don't want to go into because this darkness, just remembering where that came from. And maybe that is the birthplace of all things, you know. Maybe that is the place of where this new experience arises, and we can dance and we can sing and we can express and just enjoy ourselves and not know what's coming next. And if Ron has his guitar nearby, maybe he will play you something. At night, it could be a lullaby. but here we go, along with the show. And sometimes I sing and I don't know what's going to come next. And I can witness the thoughts of blah 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 blah. I'm a better singer, spontaneous singer, when there's no words. Like, I'm a better noisemaker. like in the tribe, they would give the noises to one person, and they say the words to one person. They'd say, Ron, you tackle the words, and they say, Ade, you just make noises. And the noises will just go, yeah. I'm a better singer when it's da da dee 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 da 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 dee 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 dee. Dee, 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 dee. That's what I love about the jazz. Is that da 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 da. So we're communicating. We're communicating in all different ways. So now I hand it back over to you, Ron.
I guess from here now is what we do with what we've learned in this communication.
Yeah.
And the opportunity for anybody who's watching, what do they do from what maybe we've talked about today, and take it forward and maybe create something new. How radical are we prepared to be?
Yeah.
Create something new. It's bigger than anything going on here. It's something, I think, can be something extraordinary. Not extraordinary in fame or anything like that, but it's extraordinary in making little differences.
Yeah.
And if we continue on this road of, I don't know where it's going, I don't know what the subject matter is going to be, I don't even know what we're going to talk about. So even today we had a title called communication, but I guess what we did was go into our personal looking at how we can communicate together, you and I.
Yeah.
And if we talk about these marks that we put on, then let's go out tomorrow and be aware of it.
Yes.
And let's be aware of the masks we put on other people.
Yes.
And that goes for every single encounter.
Yeah.
And a lot of these things that we've built up, we'll see that they are illusions, and we can allow to dissolve, because I think maybe we can't in this system, it can't be done. Maybe we've got to create a new way and have a new vision. So what do we do when we turn off this mic, or tomorrow, or the next day? Can we open ourselves up, learn about ourselves, and when we see the mask, see it. See it.
Yeah.
Feel the weights. Feel them. Can we let them drop? Because we see, and it's seeing not from a doing, but from a being. The beingness of who we are. There is nothing to do, there's no ego identity. I've got to do this. No, you see it.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's challenges for all with parental relationships. You have ideas about mum, dad, Uncle Bob, cousin Raheem, ideas about brothers, sisters that we have built up over time. Ideas about what's smart, what's not smart, what's intellectual, who's an artist, who's not an artist.
Yeah.
The reality is that not a concept, not an idea. We are unlimited potential. There it is, yes. But we bind ourselves with rope and chains, or society does a lot of it, and then we begin to do it to ourselves as well. Let's take this conversation forward into actuality. And we're going to fail sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to fall. But there's nothing wrong with that. We talked about that in Wabi Sabi. Where the pot was broken, we created a gold lining. It makes the pot even more beautiful.
Yeah, and what is failure when we're creating something new? So I mean that's a part of the thing is a lot of times I'm referencing my way of being off of some agreed upon way of being in the culture that was passed down to me, you know. So there's this constant reference in of that, and so just now noticing that I referenced that. That's all. Just know, okay, well, that's just an old sort of referencing point, but it's not. It doesn't indicate. It doesn't. It's not a measure of the value of my expression, the value of what we're creating, the value of what is coming forth. Yes, I have to, in some way. Sometimes I'll use words, that was given to me, that I learned. Use them in my way, with my voice, my way of saying them. And yes, I'll use different sounds and rhythms and things of that nature. And just having fun with the whole thing, playing with the whole thing, and not knowing exactly where it's going to lead. And I think you made a really good point. The point of this, part of this podcast is to have the conversation and then bring it out of the studio, bring it out into the world and experience, or else, it's here and that's fine. And hopefully other people watch it and can bring it out there. But then, having, one of the things about the Native American Museum, that some of the things that I read is the warrior was a very important theme. There were warriors that went to battle, and there were warriors that were warriors in different ways. But being the warrior was very important, and that meant bringing this out into the world. So helping to create something that is beneficial for other people, that is true to our values, and not just, and part of it is bringing the spirit of learning. So I don't have all these fixed values and ideals within me. I get a lot of them from our conversation. So they come up, and from talking to, learning about other cultures and other ways of being. And then, I learned, wow, that seems like Native Americans, how I treat the land. That's changed the way that I look at nature. It's just like blew my mind. I just thought, wow, that had a great impact. And now I can bring that out into the world, and we can do that. And so, yeah, we're at about an hour and 30 minutes just to.
Oh, do you know what? We can say, let's salute our ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you to Hadim. And
thank you.
The whole ethos is here. Let's take the meditation, the yoga practice, the healing, whatever, out of our little places. Take it out there. If your meditation means you beat a drum, you do it your way. You beat to the drum, or dance with your meditation,
exactly.
Or sing.
Yes.
Or get your artwork. Let's learn about these First Nations people from all over the world. Let's take what we have out there. And you know what? We're going to realize we have brothers and sisters everywhere.
Yeah.
Who are going to understand exactly what you mean before you say it.
Yeah. And taking, the meditation doesn't have to be sitting and just watching your breath, or Om, or all these different ways. I've been sitting sometimes meditating, just making noises for the whole time, just and that's just is coming naturally. But I want to. I think you froze. Okay, there you go. Yeah. I just, I was watching that movie you suggested. It was the Western. I forget the name of it. The Harder They Fall.
Harder They Fall.
So I just want to say, I'm broad, I'm broad, I'm broader than Broadway. Yes, I'm broad, I'm broad, I'm broader than Broadway. Sing.
And thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone that joined. I think we had 3 million. That's a lot for this.
Wow. And don't go outside, you're going to be bombed.
Yeah. I'm going to have to run.